Breaking news now from South Africa, where the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance, the two biggest parties in the newly elected parliament, have reached a deal to form a unity government. So let's go straight to Famida Miller now, who's live for us in Cape Town. Famida, tell us what this means and whether it allows the parliament to effectively re-elect President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Well, if that deal is in place, it means precisely that. Because the African National Congress didn't get the majority in Parliament for the first time in 3 decades, it's had to form a partnership or come to some sort of deal with one of the other political parties to have that majority in Parliament. So to give you an idea, the ANC had about 230 seats in the last Parliament, and that's come down to 159. They've needed one big other party or perhaps a number of smaller parties to have that majority. So with its 159 seats now, plus 87 from the Democratic Alliance, as well as the Inkatha Freedom Party, which holds 17 seats, it will have almost 2/3 majority. And so the nomination for Cyril Ramaphosa as president and then his election wouldn't be blocked. That would go far more smoothly. All indications have shown that Ramaphosa would would remain in office, but especially backed by a deal like this. But it doesn't mean that the ANC hasn't been heavily criticized by opposition parties like the Economic Freedom Fighters, as well as the newly formed Mkhonto weSizwe, or MK, that's led by former President Jacob Zuma. Some of these other parties, including the EFF, have held a press briefing earlier today and have also spoken to the media in recent days saying they would absolutely not participate in what the government, what the ANC is calling a government of national unity that includes the Democratic Alliance, because parties like the EFF say they're not progressive and they don't take black South Africans, the majority of South Africans' needs into consideration, at least adequately, and that they would stall progress in South Africa in terms of dealing with poverty and the huge disparity in terms of wealth distribution in South Africa. But the indication is that deal has materialized, which will allow for proceedings in Parliament to proceed smoothly.
Sounds from what you're saying that this is a coalition government that will be facing its challenges, particularly in terms of popularity among members of the public there.
Well, there are voters who would be concerned that their needs are not being represented, that who they voted for now is very different to who is actually leading South Africa, because many would argue that the Democratic Alliance and the ANC are diametrically opposed when it comes to issues like black economic empowerment, issues like labor laws and taxation, and even immigration. And so many wonder just how these two parties will come to agreement when it comes to passing of laws and policies. One of the major issues within these talks in the last couple of weeks has been around ideology and policy. And so there has been concern around just how exactly the Democratic Alliance and the ANC will work together. And this is why parties like the EFF remain opposed to that kind of a partnership, saying it's not in the best interest of South Africans. The ANC has said that it wants a stable government, that it is working for the stability of South Africans and in the best interest of South Africans. But many would wonder if this adequately represents the vote. The DA is the second most popular party, and so for now that appears to be the partnership that's in place.
Thank you very much, Famida Miller in Cape Town.